I want to tell you a quick story. So I used to be an infantry soldier in the Canadian Armed Forces, and I remember this like it was yesterday. On February 5th at 2200 hours, our sergeant comes into our bunkhouse during a training exercise and tells us to get our PT strip on and head outside. So we grab our shorts, we grab our t-shirts and our running shoes, and we run outside to the blizzard. We get out there and the wind is howling, there's snow everywhere, and it's minus 7 degrees Celsius, or about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. They pull up a truck, one of those ones with like the green canvas over the top. One of those ones. We all jump into the back. They put the cover down and we start going. It's so dark in here that you could barely see your hand in front of your face. And about 20 minutes later, the truck screeches to a halt at our destination. They open up the back, we all jump out, and I look around and there's a tree line on one side with a river flowing on the other. They had 2 ropes that were lined up in the snow, and our sergeant tells us, everyone grab hold of the rope, no one lets go, no one gets left behind. So we grab hold of these ropes and we start running. We run straight down to the river and into the river, just enough to get our feet wet, so that we could feel the cold. We loop back out of the river and back up to the tree line where the truck was, and straight back down to the river. Only this time we went up to our waist. And it wasn't even cold. It was painful. And it felt as though you had razor blades and knives cutting at your skin. And this is the point when I realized why we were holding on to these ropes. We were holding on to these ropes so that we would stay together. So that if you lost your footing in the river, you wouldn't get swept away. So we end up making our way back out of the river and back up to the tree line where the truck was, and we're thinking, okay, we're done. But we looped back around that truck and we went straight back down to the river. Only this time we went all the way in. All the way in to the point that we were floating down the river. And I can't explain to you what this felt like, but it was not cold. It wasn't painful. It was excruciating. And all your muscles start seizing up in your body, and you can I remember my legs seizing up to the point I couldn't even swim. Gasping for each breath. Every breath is a chore, and you are holding onto this rope for dear life so that you don't get swept away and die. And we're doing this while our sergeant is giving us a pep talk. They end up pulling us out of the river, and we start running again to get warm. We're running along to get warm, and we go back up towards the truck, to where the tree line is, and we're thinking, okay, thank God, we're done. We're done. But we loop back around that truck, and we go straight back down to the river, and we completely submerge. We get back out, and we start running back up to the truck again, and we're thinking, thank God, we're done. We're done. We're done. We have to be done. We loop back around that truck and go straight back down to the river. We had to completely submerge in the water, back out, and back up to the truck. Okay, we got to be done. There's no way they're going to make this there's no way we can do this again. There's no way they can make us do this again. It's over. It's done. It's done. And we loop back around the truck and go straight back down to the river. And we repeated this process 2 or 3 more times. And we repeated it until one of us ended up getting hypothermia, into like very critical hypothermia. And at this point, this training exercise turned into an emergency situation, where we packed him up back into the truck, and we start ripping back to the base. We're bumping down this back road in this crappy army truck, and we're all huddled over him to try to keep him warm so he doesn't die. We get back to the base, and long story short, he survives. He's okay. So you're probably wondering, why am I telling you this story? Well, later that evening, our sergeant comes in. He comes into the room, and he asks us a very specific question. And he goes, Sullivan, what would you think of your life today if you were to die? And I sit back, and I was kind of dumbfounded, because I've never been asked that question before. I'd never thought about anything like that before. I was just kind of living and being and just doing. And so I never really had a real answer for him, but that got the wheels turning in my head, and that got me to start reflecting and sitting with myself and asking myself, why? Why am I here? What do I want to do? What do I want to create? What do I want to be? And it got that process going. So now I want to ask you the same thing. What would you think of your life thus far if you were to die today? Have you lived your life with passion, with purpose? Would you be fulfilled with what you've done so far? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? What do you want to create? And if you don't know the answer to those questions, or if you've never thought about this before, that's okay. Because I was just like you when I was first asked that question. I didn't know. But I want you to take a few minutes and just be quiet with yourself. I want you to ask yourself why. Why am I here? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? What do I want to create in this world? What am I meant to be? I want you just to sit down and just be quiet with yourself right now and ask yourself why.